First day of December, we're here at the Digital News Desk to talk to the Mayor of Watertown, Sarah Pierce, about the meeting that is tonight. Clearly, we have some questions about the ethics complaint. We'll get to those in a moment. But first, good to see you.
Good to see you.
And let's talk about a couple of other things that are on the agenda here for the night tonight. Bonding for the courtroom renovations, likely not going to get passed tonight. What does that do to the project? Does it delays it, but is there any consequence to the delay?
I don't believe there's any consequence to the delay. I think it'll just set the timeline back several weeks because, as you said, it likely will not have the votes to pass this evening. It'll just come up on a future agenda after the start of the new year.
And what's the reasoning that it's not going to get the votes?
I can't speak for the other council members. I just don't think the support's there. It does require a 4/5 vote to bond, and I don't think that we have the 4 votes. Likely not. We'll see.
New garbage guidelines, refuse in the city of Watertown. They begin today, the first day of December. This will include the tote that you can use and the routes. Does it change the day that your garbage may be picked up as well for some folks?
Yes, for some folks, they will see the day that their garbage is picked up change. So it's important to check on the city website. I'll also have something up on my social media. I know one of the other council members does as well. But important to make note of that because in an effort to improve efficiencies with this service, we've changed the routes a bit, and there's also the change to the type of tote that you're permitted to put your trash bags in. There's, of course, the city totes that are provided through the city, but if you're using your own personal tote and putting bags in there that are tagged, you need to have a watertight container, and it has to have a sticker on it, and those are available through the DPW.
And those stickers that go on the totes, those are free?
Yes.
Right? Those
yes.
are free, but then the garbage that you put into that tote, you have to blue tag it
yes.
and buy that blue sticker,
correct.
Right? Okay,
yes.
So that's the way that is. So those new guidelines go into effect today. So if your garbage pickup was on a Monday, it might be on a different day. So
yes.
Check that on the city website. Finally, with the agenda tonight, you have some funding that you're looking for to take care of some invasive species, the buckthorn,
the buckthorn,
is it bush
invasive
or something?
Buckthorn, yes.
In Thompson
like that,
Park.
Yeah.
So is this just, is it because it's coming back, or is this just more of it that you need to take care of?
To do a couple of things. There's a couple of pots of money that we're going to be applying to, I believe, for funding through the state. The first would be for additional clearing of the buckthorn. So we've made some great progress in recent years with that. Contracting that work out as well as volunteer city staff, those types of efforts. But there's more that can be done. So part of the funding that we're applying for will go toward that effort. The other effort will be to replace the native species that was overtaken by the buckthorn. So a two-pronged approach to get things looking even better in Thompson Park, but this is state money that we're going to be going after, and hopefully we'll be successful in receiving it.
Is this why Thompson Park seems a little bit more open
yes.
as you drive
yep.
in, right?
Yep.
A lot of it's been cleared. That was because of the buckthorn?
Yes, a lot of that was due to that.
And that reminds me that I did see that the DPW folks, I believe it was that department, marking the cross-country ski trail that's going to be open in Thompson Park. And part of that is open, the area that you go through is because of the clearing of the
sure.
buckthorn, right? So any update on when those trails open, or how is it maintained through the year? Because it's something new for the city.
City crews will be doing that, and I believe it'll be ready to go as soon as we get significant snowfall. I don't think there's enough out there to start cross-country skiing quite yet, but that'll be ready hopefully once we get any sort of significant snowfall. And then also important to note, we'll have cross-country skis available to rent. I believe they're going to be down at the arena, but for people who don't have the equipment or just want to try it out before going and buying skis, they can do that through the city.
And what's the course like up in Thompson Park? Does it go through like the golf course area, or how long is it?
I know the official groom trails, I'm not exactly sure where those are going to go, but I know just from snowshoeing up there that there are trails that people have created in the past that do go on the golf course, kind of through the wooded area. I'm not exactly sure what they have lined out for specific trails that will be maintained. Remains to be seen.
Sure.
We'll see. But there's lots of options, whether it's a maintained trail or not, or getting around up there and taking in the scenery.
Yeah, well, hopefully some people are intrigued by hearing about it. You can inquire more and learn more about it. And as we get closer or more into the snow season, we can talk about it. All right, so now we can talk about the ethics complaint, and the ethics board is going to be meeting on the 8th, so a week from today. The ethics complaint signed by yourself, Councilmember Kimball, and Councilmember Schoen against the other two sitting council members, Lisa Ruggiero and Cliff Olney, claiming that communications, emails were shared, private emails at city business shared with private developers. People in the email, the bunch of emails would include PJ Sameo and Mike Lundy. Councilmember Ruggiero out with a letter here this morning. It came out at about 10 o'clock, and I have provided a copy to the mayor to, instead of just surprising you with it, I wanted you to read it, but I want to just kind of summarize and go through it point by point. It's from Lisa Ruggiero's attorney, Stephen Leventhal, and has quite a bit of experience with ethics. But the conclusion pretty much states, and I'm going to go through it more, but the Board of Ethics lacks the competence to determine the legal question of whether each particular communication, the email, was privileged or otherwise confidential. The Board of Ethics should dismiss the complaint. If it does not do so, the December 8th, 2025 meeting should take place in public session without the participation of the city attorney. And the Board of Ethics should return the matter to the City Council with a recommendation that all council members must refrain from participating in the discussion because they say that there are conflicts of interest for the sitting council members to decide this. So a lot to take in here. My first question, is it all worth it? I guess, because it's a lot to go through here. You have council members that are there for another couple of weeks, 4 weeks. A lot of people are questioning why even go down this road. I think you've answered this question in the past, but here we are the first day of December. Is this still worth pursuing?
Well, I think at any point in time when something comes to your attention that could potentially be unethical or not, when it comes to elected office, not in the best interest of the residents and taxpayers that you took an oath to represent, I absolutely think it's worth bringing up. I mean, the alternative would be to get information such as that was presented to us and do nothing about it, sweep it under the rug. I think we have a responsibility to act on this, bring what appears to be, in my opinion, unethical wrongdoing to light. I mean, I liken it to any business. If you found out somebody, an employee, was doing wrong at your business, would you, if they were going to retire in a few weeks, say, oh, forget about it, they're going to retire shortly? No, you would do something about it. So I think we have a responsibility to act on it, and we're going about that process.
The emails, I've read them, and they hit on different topics to involve certain property, whether or not council member only can climb the roof at the water, was it the reservoir or the water department building?
So.
I forget which one, but something to do with the water department. I remember the story, I just don't remember that piece of it. Were you surprised at the number of topics? Because this all, if you go back to the golf course really, the purchase of it was the center of a lot of controversy. But when I look at these emails and the topics that were forwarded, I do wonder why some of them are considered privileged or confidential. There's some where you're like, well, what's the hidden or confidential meaning in this? Were you surprised at the different topics that you saw in the emails that were forwarded, a lot of them to one developer? Did it surprise you?
Having been a part of this for 4+ years, I personally was not surprised, and I don't want to get ahead of any sort of review that the ethics board is going to do, because I certainly believe in due process, and these council members can certainly share with the ethics board their side of the story as to why they were doing that. But for me personally, I was not surprised in the slightest. I think this is what many people in the community had suspected had been going on all along. And I think it's important to remember, too, that these pieces of correspondence are only from a snippet in time. They are from the period of time that was requested as part of the FOIL request. And the other point, too, I think going back to Why do this now? Is it worth it? I would remind people that this FOIL request was initially requested, I think, over roughly 2 years ago. These documents were asked for, and these council members said they didn't have any communication. It was only through doing a specific search, and I don't know how they did the search, but these emails were found, I believe, by IT, or I'm not exactly sure how they were uncovered. But had we known this a year or two ago when the documents were originally foiled, it would have been, I wouldn't say more timely, but it would have been, we would have been better off if we had known this sooner, had this information
It would have
sooner.
been brought to light sooner.
It would have been brought to light sooner and dealt with sooner.
Did these come about because the one thing that we're reporting on differently here in this case is the fact that some people were blind carbon copied. Is it because of the BCC on these emails?
I think that may have had something to do with it, that maybe the BCCs were searched for and they weren't previously. I don't know, but that could have had something to do with it. And just going back to the whole is it worth it argument, I think it's important to note for the community. I know that the community is sick of hearing about this. I personally am frustrated to have to deal with another I don't even know what the right word is, situation of this nature. But I think the important thing for the community to know is the day-to-day things that we're working on at City Hall have not stopped. The hardworking hundreds of members of city staff who are working on important projects, their work has not stopped. This, frankly, takes up very minimal time, at least from my perspective. When I was presented this information and looked at these emails, it was a quick thing to look and see and say, okay, it looks like there could be some unethical wrongdoing here, in my opinion. It's nothing that takes up a significant portion of time, nor is it something that's costing the city a bunch of money. That's another narrative that's out there, is why are we spending all this money on lawyers? Our attorney, as part of a FOIL request, she deals with many FOIL requests from many different parties, individuals in the community, et cetera. As part of a FOIL request, she was completing this work anyway. She brought it to our attention. I personally wrote the letter. There was no investment in any kind of funds to have somebody write a letter. She has not been part of the ethics board's proceedings up until this point, and I don't even know that she's going to be required to be. I know there's concerns about a conflict of interest there, and I don't know that we would even require an attorney to be present for the next portion of this process.
The letter from Councilmember Ruggiero's attorney, Stephen Leventhal, I just want to go through a couple of points that she's making here today on why the whole matter should be tossed out and not considered. The first one, please confirm that all copies of communications submitted to the Board of Ethics have been provided to the Councilwoman, Councilmember Ruggiero. Between Councilmember Ruggiero, Councilmember Olney, they feel that they may not have all of the emails that are part of what is considered evidence with the Board of Ethics. Do they have all of, are they due, should they have all of the emails
Certainly.
that are?
Yeah,
that are,
I certainly think that they should have everything. I think that they do have everything. There may be some sort of misunderstanding. It's my understanding that there was a packet of information provided to the councilwoman that included any emails that pertained to her specifically, as well as any crossover emails that may have involved her and Councilmember Olney. And then Councilmember Olney was provided the same sort of packet with emails that pertain solely to him and emails that pertain to the both of them. So they may need to go back and review what each other has, but from what the council member sent out a few days ago, I cross-referenced with the emails that we were provided. Not everything was in that packet that was sent out.
So what it would be is if Councilmember Olney has, if I'm understanding you correctly, has the communications that he had.
Correct.
The emails that he had with Councilmember Ruggiero, but what he doesn't have are the sole communications of what Councilmember Ruggiero had on her own.
Correct.
He doesn't have that. So if he released something, he may not have connected the two to release everything.
Correct.
But between the two of them, they should have everything?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
The councilwoman's lawyer says the Board of Ethics is not authorized to investigate the complaints, not authorized to investigate the complaints, saying that it is limited, has limited authority to render advisory opinions and suggest amendments to the Code of Ethics. Does the Code of Ethics have the right to do that? What is the Code of Ethics supposed to do? Render a decision, an opinion?
They're not rendering a decision at all. They are essentially looking at the complaint and hearing the other side of the story. And I don't think that they don't have any authority other than to say to the city council, this could be worth a closer look, and here's why.
Just going through this letter that came out this morning, city attorney must recuse herself. You addressed that. Is this an open meetings violation? That's another claim in here saying, and we've gone through this, 7 News did a report on it. And the groups, we talked to a couple of them, the groups thought that the final process, that if the 3 of you were talking with the lawyer and the lawyer said, and you guys have said that you didn't meet together with
Correct.
the lawyer, that everything was done individually. But the Committee on Open Government with the state, when we asked, and another group that we asked, thought that that final step that you guys took in terms of signing that as council members should have been done in the public. Do you think that's the case? do you feel that way now, that that final step should have been done in the public, or?
I would have had no problem doing it in the public. However, I will say that we did, throughout this process, seek legal advice in asking if we needed to do this publicly. And we were told that we individually could have filed complaints on our own, and there was no issue with us all signing onto a letter. The argument that's being made by these council members that ethics complaints need to be voted on in order to move forward does not make any sense, because that would require a majority in order to advance any sort of ethics complaint. So I'll say hypothetically, what if you had 3 council members who were doing something illegal and 2 council members wanted to take action against them and share something with the ethics board? That effectively would not be able to move forward using the logic that they are leaning on.
So no second guessing yourselves or yourself. I won't have you speak for anybody else, but not for yourself, in terms of if anything should have been done more in the open or the public.
I mean, personally, I felt like we took the steps in order to comply with open meetings law using the guidance provided to us by legal counsel. So I don't have any issue. I wouldn't have had any issue doing this publicly. I don't have any issue with making everything public. And I think that we took the steps that we wanted to with the guidance of legal counsel.
And the final point I'll make out of this letter is whether a particular city record is privileged or otherwise confidential is a question of law beyond the competence of the Board of Ethics. They're arguing that a lot of the stuff in the emails, the correspondence between the council members and private citizens, developers, doesn't really meet the standard of that it should be privileged or that it's confidential. One of them, the constituent email, there's an email in there from a constituent, and that was just forwarded on. Do you question, I know your answer, but I'll ask it, but I mean, do you question that some of this stuff isn't confidential and doesn't fall under the scope of what you're looking for?
Some of it may not be confidential. Certainly there are numerous emails that are marked confidential that should not have been shared with developers. However, I think there are a number of communications, as you just referenced, where these council members were responding to constituents and BCCing, blind carbon copying the developers. Why would an elected official do that? It just does not make any sense to me, and I think is in very poor taste for any elected official to be doing that. And just going back to the whole conflict of interest, I know that you've mentioned a number of times the councilwoman's attorney. I think it's important to note that this attorney represents one of the central figures in this complaint, Mr. Sameo, one of the developers. I, along with many other people in the community, have received cease and desist letters from this attorney anytime I dare share my opinion on anything related to the goings-on that have happened over the course of the past 4 years. So I think if you're going to talk about a conflict of interest, that seems to be a pretty stark conflict of interest, in my opinion.
If you're saying that some of the stuff is in poor taste, is it really an ethics violation then?
I think there are definitely, in my opinion, clear ethics violations, and there are also things that have happened that have been in poor taste, but also most importantly, not in the best interest of the city of Watertown residents and taxpayers.
The meeting tonight, really the first time to have the everyone together in a public setting. I imagine that it could get pretty lively. And what are you expecting tonight?
Fully expect certain council members to conduct themselves the way that they have in the past. I will do my best to run an efficient meeting that's orderly, and hopefully everybody will treat each other with respect. I don't intend to bring this up tonight. I would like the ethics board to continue along the process and then for us to bring this to a conclusion. I know it likely will get brought up tonight. I'm not in favor of engaging in any kind of public back and forth about this evening. Again, I'd like to let the ethics board move forward with the process.
And kind of back to where we started the interview with the ethics and you know, is it all worth it? Have you considered just dropping it? Just because of...
I think at this point it just needs to be brought to a conclusion.
And you think it would be by the end of the year? That's what you were hoping for? Or that's what the three of you, I think, were hoping for?
I think so. I think this could be definitely brought to a conclusion by the end of the year, because I think, you know, I'm very optimistic with the two new council members that we have coming in. I know they're both very intelligent people who have the city's best interest at heart, and I'm really ready, as I think a lot of people in the community are, to turn the page. Let's get a fresh start for the city council, and let's, you know, get back to focusing on the things that are important to residents.
Does it continue into the new year? If it isn't, how does that work? If it's not done by the end of the year and you go into the new year, is it still pursued?
I think I don't see a situation where it would just be dropped. I think it would have to be brought to some sort of conclusion in some way. Okay. Exactly what way, I'm not entirely certain at this point. It depends on the next step in the process with the ethics board. We'll see what happens after that and see how we can bring this to some sort of conclusion. Okay.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much
for
the time and the conversation. The meeting tonight, 7 o'clock at City Hall.